Welcome to ASSA ABLOY's Security Perspectives podcast. In today's complex world, it takes a village to ensure the safety, security, and health of a facility. In each episode, we'll speak with industry experts about their point of view on the latest trends, technologies, and topics impacting the security industry. If you want to broaden your perspective on physical security, this podcast will give you the insight you're looking for. Welcome to the third episode of Security Perspectives podcast, led by Jeremy Celine with ASSA ABLOY. Very excited to have our special guest here today, Odess. We're going to be diving into the state of access control in our industry, as well as a state of the union on mobile credential. Lee supported and led a panel today on the Integrated Access Management and Security Summit, hosted in Nashville. So we're excited to have Lee join us here for a little deeper dive into some of the content delivered today. So Lee, why don't you give everyone a background of who you are and why you're here?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, I'm here. I was invited to come, so thank you for the opportunity to be here. So we CEO of something called the Access Control Collective. A lot of people know it from the Access Control Executive Brief, which is a brief that we put out and write, as well as a community that's online of professionals in the access control, smart lock, and adjacent security world where they work. So we bring people together. We put on shows. We do a lot of thought leadership. We really are trying to push the today forward of our industry and talk about where the changes are happening. This is the type of thing we do on a regular basis, come and have conversations because we work globally, work with a lot of companies to understand what the strategies and the changes, and talk to end users and the rest to try to really consolidate a view of where things are going that has basically not a lot to do with where things have been.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's definitely a very complex industry, and access control, I think, as if you just look specifically at the university segment, there's a lot of challenges with almost and from a paralysis perspective of campuses, when you start digging into all the different systems and video access, what is the right amount of security and access, and then you throw in mobile credentials. How are you seeing the market adopt access control as well as mobile credentials specific to the university space?
Yeah, so if I was just in general access control, I mean, that's been around since they've been putting boulders in front of caves, if you would, right? That's a sense of, so really the defining moment, in my opinion, is now the movement to electronic access control in a lot of senses. And I think what you have is, just like every other sector in the world, you have software eating it, as people have said before, and you have digital transformation. And I think as an industry, we have had the benefit of being somewhat left alone and isolated, because if you take, no one wanted to take on the risk of somebody getting shot or stabbed. So it's like, well, leave that alone. We'll isolate that, because frankly, the more predictable our industry was of how we approach things, it did things, we could look people in the eye and say, I can bring you a higher level of safety by doing these practices. And then, somebody, if I take the college campuses, like, the administrators are like, I don't know, like, leave it to them. That's what they do best, right? So go do that. Well, coming now with technology and software and the advent of a lot of things, my opinion is, if you look at the introduction of the internet, so DARPA introducing that, if you look at the introduction of Salesforce bringing SaaS into the lexicon that exists, you look at the phone from Apple coming in, so bringing this level of consumerization, and then you bring COVID, which was sort of an accelerant of digital transformation. We overnight became an industry of unpredictability in areas where there's been predictability. And that's the friction I hear at a conference like this, or when we go on a college campus and talk to people, is that there was this trust and comfort that was there that I was able to deliver on my job over the past 30 years because there was levels of predictability. Now I'm questioning whether I can, because so much is unpredictable, and that makes me feel uncomfortable, me being the practitioner that has a self-identity as the person delivering safety. They're now being asked to also deliver operational efficiencies, revenue generation. They're almost like a hospitality marketplace of this user experience, because again, think about it. Forever, the user experience that we've had is I'm going to inconvenience you as much as possible, because I know if I do that, there's a level of safety that is delivered by more doors, bollards, barriers to go up. Well, now the marketplace is saying, I don't want that, but I still want layers of safety and security. And we're trying to wrestle, how do I do all of that? And I don't know, some people are excited about it. Other people moan about it. Other people are pissed because they probably thought they were going to retire in the next couple of years. And now there's all this new stuff. So all in all, it's about opportunity, in my opinion. That's the exciting part.
Yeah, no, that's really good insight. That transformation of, I like how you describe that, to the student experience, the hospitality side of that. Do you feel, if I'm a college campus that, we heard a lot from Penn State, Georgia Tech yesterday on the show, just about their adoption of access control. I mean, historically, we've seen campuses that may buy 500-600 locks at a time over the course of 10 years, and that was a large investment. Now schools are buying 14,000 locks, and for access control purposes to enhance that student experience. If you're an organization or campus that's stuck, do you feel like that unpredictability of I don't know where the market's going to be in 5 years is why maybe other schools haven't adopted it as quickly as others?
There's a lot of reasons. And so for everyone, I tell you could show me another probably. But if I was to try to summarize what I think is happening, I'll pick sort of my greatest hits around that. I do think, like I said, there's a fracture that happened in trust and comfort of what I've known, and I've self-identified as an individual that delivered this value, and now I'm being asked to do a bunch of other things, and frankly I may not understand, and it's challenging the conventional wisdoms that I've had, and then now I'm having to deliver on something else. So there's a little bit of education and time that probably has to come into play, and just a recognition that it's fundamentally different. So just because we woke up one day, all of a sudden, I hear here, is identity all of a sudden in that as a category has fundamentally shifted. It used to be, let's be honest, college is a little bit different, but most of the places, our industry had no idea who the people were. We just protected it. It's funny. We protect all these people. We never really cared to get to know them because they were a card or a number. And as long as they had that card with the number and it went up to the black thing on the wall and it beeped and they got in, that's all we cared about. And that's all we were supposed to care about. Now, all of a sudden, I'm supposed to understand who that person is, be a source of record. And then I'm supposed to do a bunch of things that you're now telling me run sort of completely the different direction than what I've been taught as how to deliver. For instance, opening up these systems. They were closed for a lot of reasons, one of them being business oriented, but the other ones being that we could control the delivering of safety by controlling it. Now we're being told to just open it up. So all the conventional wisdoms of wait, no, if I do that, I'm going to deliver less safety. Well, people are saying, no, actually, by me digitizing this, I can even deliver more safety because I know the people, I know where they're going, and this and all these things, right? So it's completely different. That's why I asked on stage today, part of, I think the problem is that we're taking all this new and shoving it through all the old and expecting different results, which is, I think, partially the definition of insanity, because we continuously do it over and over and over again, when maybe there needs to be a reintroduction of how we define what we do. Now, there'll be pockets in the high security marketplace where that's not true, and that's fine. So let them do that. But it also doesn't mean that the new side of this doesn't exist. So why don't we create the market that we need? Bring the people along that are willing to go do it. Introduce some of the new people like the IT industry and the rest of it into the enterprise software. Bring that group together and go deliver what we know is what people want, and inevitably, frankly, the truth of where it's going to go. I remember coming into the industry and people telling me mobile will never work. It'll never happen. All those people are wrong. Now, you could argue and say, well, it hasn't been adopted at the scale that it should be. Yeah, no kidding. But inevitably it will. And I'm happy to bet my house on the fact that it will at some point. When? That's where we can now argue and get into when. But the idea that it's not going to happen? No. So some of this is imagination. It's thinking more exponential that gets in the way. Self-identity. I fundamentally believe that there's the two biggest reasons why adoption hasn't happened, and they have nothing to do with technical. One of them is incentives. I believe if our industry was incentivized to adopt newer technology and to redefine how we deliver safety and security, wow, magically overnight, if I knew I was going to get bonused different on this, I would all of a sudden have religion. And then the second one is demographics. I do think as an older population of an industry, there are people are not want to introduce as much risk. We've been rewarded as an industry that has incrementally changed over time, not exponentially. If I grow 5 to 8%, everything's fine. Now with this change, we're talking 30% growth, 50% growth, whatever the percentage growth numbers are supposed to be there. But I'm going to have to inject risk into the business, which I don't know if I'm comfortable doing. But you're now seeing new players come in, new capital come in. You've got Apple, Google, people that like live off of risk all day long. You have all of them coming in and they're challenging those norms. And, that's where we live, is the people that want the change and are doing the change. We're no longer crazy. Like, we're not. I was when we started this. It was like all ideas, and then now it's actually reality in a lot of cases.
Yeah, when you think of the iPhone coming out almost 20 years ago now, that slow adoption, I think as a society and as a consumer, it's been there, right? And a gentleman asked a question today. I'm not particularly sure what institution he was from, but we're seeing that, hear about that student experience, and students are using their phones, for their daily lives, but we haven't seen that adoption with 5,000-6,000 campuses that are in the U.S. Rough numbers, maybe 150 to 200 of those have adopted mobile credentials. Yet everybody on campus is using them. I mean, so what do you, where do you see that that point where there will be more adoption? With mobile credentials, what do you think that's the defining moment, from a university perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe we're going to get to a point where we're not going to be talking about this anymore. We talk about it because it's new. We haven't had it. And frankly, we also talk about it because Apple and Google are participating in it now, where, if they would have opened this up 10 years ago, we would have been talking about it 10 years ago. The fact that they didn't created this point of time. So where I think, when, I guess is the question that you're asking. I think there's going to be a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to happen, but we will wake up one day where like, oh, remember when no one had it? And I think some of the things that will have happened, I think opening up to more people being able to go do it and bring it in the marketplace is going to open up the creativity in the sort of the governor will come off a little bit of the flow, if you would, of bringing these products to market. Like, magically these ideas will become real. So I think opening it up, I do think there's some pricing pressures and things like that if we're being honest, a lot of the companies that are participating in this are sort of like, we present price in a way like, here is the cost, like, and then we wait for a response, and then we respond, and then we all of a sudden are like, yes, it's $1, like, but it started at 10 and then worked its way to it. So I think some of the pricing stuff is going to happen on that end. There is a level of infrastructure need that has to go through that. If we think about the cycles of rip and replacing that was happening, or upkeep and that was happening, we get in these sort of, all of a sudden 7 years later, now all of a sudden they have a budget to go do it. I think as more people are aware of the cool factor side of it, I do believe the general public demand, if you would, of expecting. And a lot of these colleges and the campuses are like luxury goods in effect. And if they don't have this sparkly thing that the other school has, and people are going to look at the school and be like, what do you mean can't use your phone to get in this thing? What is this, 1980? All of a sudden they're like, we need to have it. And then so pressures come from outside of our industry to force it to go happen. So a lot of those things. My belief is the biggest one is, once the value creation is there, that goes beyond locking and unlocking these operational efficiencies, these revenue generation. So the value proposition is much bigger than just saying, oh, you're going to go from card to mobile. For being real, that change from card to mobile is not that drastic of a value creation as much as we would like it to believe. But now, once we do go mobile, what it can do, whether it's the back office, like was talked about on stage, savings around the card offices, all of a sudden we're going to be laughing that we used to go do that, to the front end experience of the data that comes off of it, or the ability for me to go from this thing to this thing to this thing, all by tapping and going. Like, I don't know, if you go on the metro or train or whatever and you use the tap to get in, you're like, it's literally like magic. Like, and all it is the ability to tap. But that starts to default into being sort of a standard, and the value that's built around it will inevitably, people will be like, yeah, whatever it costs to go do that doesn't matter because I get so much value out of it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was wondering, a question, was asked today, one of the gentlemen was getting institutional pushback because they just don't feel like the students aren't asking for that, right? And you brought up that those pressures of, if my kids at some point are going to school, I'm in the industry obviously, but I'm going to be looking for that as we go and explore different campuses, and to me that's having that level, layers of security, access, and mobile, and I mean we're just obviously more aware of it. I'm just wondering if there's this lack of awareness potentially from students that are going to school, that they don't care if there's a brass key or an access control lock or mobile credentials. What are your thoughts on? Are you seeing potentially students choosing a school based on what technology they have deployed?
I mean, I don't think maybe the children of our industry nerds will because they paid attention to it, but like collectively, no, I don't think that could. I do believe, again, the value built on top of it. So I think our industry sleeps on the impact that notifications and awareness, like there's parts of what mobile allows happen that drives value to a parent. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm able to, I did last night, I'm here, I'm traveling. I wanted to know if my daughter was at the softball field or home. I just pick it up and go look at it, and it gives me peace of mind to go do that. So that, now, if I didn't have the mobile, it would happen, but that wasn't like the main reason why I bought it. But now that I use it, there's immense value that, if it could open up a door. The way I look at it is that I don't think people care about the utility of it. I think they care about the value it creates. So are they going around being like, oh, I can't unlock my door to go do it? No. Just like they're not walking through being like, I wonder if they use fiber optic here, or like they're just not. Or when I go look in an apartment, I remember early days when we would go work in the multifamily residential space, and it's like, this place has structured wiring. Like that was a spec that we thought people don't care if it had structured wiring. They cared what you did with the structure. The same thing here. We just happen to be so close to it that we think so. So that's why when I heard that, I was like, yeah, they're not. Like, so thinking they're going to ask for it. I do believe at some point what starts to be more apparent are the places that don't have it than the places that do. That's when it starts to matter. It's sort of like, I don't know, do we even think about asking about whether a car has powered windows or not? But when it doesn't have it, you sure as hell know when it doesn't, right? Sure. But you're not like going like this. You just I think that's the same analogy we'll have. Like it will look like your school has non-powered windows at some point, and people are going to be like, either that's going to be cute and quaint at that point, right. Maybe that's what you're selling, and you're because there's schools now. I know, like you're seeing the movement happen right now where it's like, we don't use phones in the schools now. We don't use computers in the schools now, right? It's back to paper and the rest. So there will be those that sell that as a benefit, and there'll be ones that don't. But fundamentally, I think it matters more when people recognize that it doesn't have it than when they will have it. So that's why I understand the feedback, and it's real because that's what he's going through. But that's a moment in time.
Yeah. Now, our industry has seen, over the course of the last 10 years, a pretty big bump in access control becoming more of a norm within higher education, K through 12. Do you expect to see a bigger transformation over the next 5 years than what we've seen in the past 10, or where do you see the market going?
I do, because I think there are truths that exist beyond our control. So digital transformation software, the benefits around the enterprise software, more than anything, the capital that's coming in from the private equity industry that has changed the incentives of our industry to where the expectation of growth is far different than it was before. We can't do anything about that other than either resist it at your own peril or get on the boat and go. Now, there will be bumps along the road, 100%. I think there is a level of duty that we have because this is no longer just fun. It's about safety and security at the core. So there's a practice that has to be done to deliver that. I see that as our opportunity, frankly, because we have that expertise. It's a shame that coming out of COVID, we forgot to utilize the term essential for the people in our industry to go deliver. We've sort of like hiccuped out of that and like moved on. But if we think about it, there is an essential part that we deliver as an industry. We should leverage that. So get off our heels, onto our toes type of a thing. Because if we don't, The IT industry is going to. I'm seeing it now where, there's the IT industry, especially like when things go down, like the grid or like things like, so they're protecting life safety as well. It's not just the physical life safety. So they will approach our industry in the same methodologies that they have. And frankly, I think some of those will start to absorb our industry and areas into it. They go do it. So we have a choice now. We're at a crossroads as an industry. We either are going to lean into the change or resist it. And, good luck for those that do.
Yeah. Now, at today's summit, it was, I heard it was the first time in our industry history that all the leading mobile credential providers and just the overall organizations that are involved in mobile credential adoption were on the stage at the same time, supporting the conversation today. What are your thoughts on that? Are you seeing more of all of the organizations coming closer together to build that community for our customers?
Yeah. I think it's dumb that it's taken this long to do it. Like come on. So that's just, in my opinion, just an immaturity of our market now shifting to be more mature in how we show up and talk and do. Mm-hmm. I think we've been a cottage industry and we're now moving to a mainstream industry. And as a mainstream industry, as things move from that $10 billion industry to 70 billion to 100 billion, whatever you want to believe, with that and with all the change, so do the who we define as competition. When you have large big tech coming into it, they're because of the time and money and reach and everything else that they have that our industry doesn't, they are going to force norms and I call them old truths, to just fundamentally change. And to believe that it's not going to change the relationship side, especially as the customer starts to demand products and things to function in a certain way, then again, shame on us if you're going to continue to do that. So great, I'll celebrate it. It's wonderful. We should be doing more of it. I think it's part of the reason why our company has been able to grow and do what we're doing is because of these changes. Has like little to do with me and my team and more to do with the marketplace of where it is. And we just happen to meet the market at the moment when it's happening. So yeah, I think we should have more of it. And I think we will see more of it.
It's definitely an exciting time to be in our industry. We always say that feel like we're in the first or second inning of a 9-inning game, and we appreciate your support and being the voice of access control for the industry and what you're doing. So thank you for that effort and partnering with us and other organizations to deliver that message to our customers and to the market. So Lee, thank you for joining us today and supporting not only the Security Perspectives podcast, but also the Integrated Access Management Security Summit today. So thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks you for doing this. Again, we need more of these conversations. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to do it. So thank you.